Get ready for some upbeat banter, plenty of laughs, and a whole lot of love for the game and our team. This is Buds and Blue Jays. And now your hosts, Riley McConnell and Jesse Burrell.
Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, June 3rd. Happy Lou Gehrig Day for those of you who celebrate. And welcome to episode 183 of Buds and Blue Jays, your place for all things related to the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm your host, Jesse Burrell, joined as always by my co-host, Riley McConnell. And today on our show, we've got a good one. The Toronto Blue Jays finished their quote-unquote stretch of easier teams, and it's come to an end, winning 2 out of 3 against the Pittsburgh Pirates this week. And we have so much to talk about in this series. Alek Manoah and Jordan Romano to the IL. The Jays played a 14-inning game and walked it off thanks to a Davis Schneider home run. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is playing third base. And oh yeah, the City Connect jerseys are here. And I will say, I think they're growing on me a little bit. But first, let's say hello to our co-host, Mr. Riley McConnell. Riley, good morning. How are you today?
Jesse, quite well, thank you, on this beautiful Monday morning. Just sort of digesting the Pirates series, like the rest of Blue Jays fans and anyone kind of keeps track of this stuff. With that, we are now 28-30 on the year. I don't know if I should feel great about that or if I should feel like the Blue Jays kind of gotten lucky to be just 2 games under 500.
Well, Riley, with that being said, we are out of 5th place now officially in the standings. So if you want to call this progress, we've moved ahead of the Tampa Bay Rays. We are only a game behind the Boston Red Sox. So you could say the Blue Jays are moving up, and this is maybe a sign of good things to come for this team. Couple of housekeeping notes because we do have a lot to get to, and I want to get to this really quickly. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, retweet, share, all that good stuff. Leave a 5-star review. Tell your friends about the show on Buds and Blue Jays. It is really the best way to help the show grow. You can follow us on all the socials, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter. We're everywhere, and anywhere you can find the podcast or listen to a podcast, you can find us here at Buds and Blue Jays. And we wanted to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Blue Jays Today and at the Walk Off Podcast for inviting us to the Baseball Town event last Thursday. Riley, we had a great time there. It was so much fun to meet everyone there. Lots of great baseball conversations, lots of great connections being made. To everybody that we met and took the time out of the day to talk to us, thank you. We plan to be back at the next one, which is Thursday, June the 20th. Mark your calendars. We hope to see you all there. It surely was a great event.
What a cool event. Great baseball conversations all night. I want to thank Taylor for the sell on the walk-off podcast. Scott, these are beautiful, super comfortable. And for Nick and Adam at Blue Jays Today, you guys really know your ball. What a fantastic event. I can't wait to be part of it again, Jesse. That was a lot of fun. Like-minded people all in the same room together. It makes for some good conversation.
If you like what you're seeing here, make sure you go check them out as well. You can find them anywhere you can get your podcast. They post out a lot of good content as well. All right, Riley, without further ado, a lot to get into this episode. Are you ready to go?
Let's hit this, man.
All right, Riley, as the official fashion guy on our show, I need your take officially on what did you think of the City Connect jerseys? 1, when we first got the leak of what they came out with, and 2, how they looked on the field, because I thought they were pretty cool.
Okay, so I'll say this, Jesse. They are not the biggest train wreck of City Connects by a long shot.
Yes, agreed.
The hat kind of reminds me of like the TTC tee. And the skyline is the coolest part. I like the colors. They're quite complimentary. And I don't hate black uniforms. I think that to wear these, on a Friday night home game is one thing. I mean, I do like our traditional colors. I think it's really cool. I think that, the whole thing is just a pile for Rogers to get money. Let's make a new jersey so we can sell it. I myself will not buy it. I have the on-field, just blue hat. You'll never see me in a hat. And also, you probably won't see me in any of the City Connect stuff. Although I do think it's very.
It did have some good moments to it. I did kind of like the blackness to it, the night mode theme. I feel like that was kind of cool. The Blue Jays hadn't really done night mode theme like that in quite a while. I listened to an interview with the creator of these shows, and the purpose of the jerseys was to try to get the younger kids involved and try to add like a party atmosphere to it and stuff. And I thought that was kind of cool. It really did affect that. And the whole night mode vibe for the Toronto Blue Jays, I thought was kind of cool marketing. I kind of liked it a little bit. I think they're growing on me as time goes on here.
I mean, the night mode thing is I think it's hella cheesy. We got so many expressions for this team, so many mottos, and none of them are just win. So I get it. It's gimmicky. It's cool. We have a lot of cool gimmicks at the ballpark. I like to find myself in a seat in the 500 section, and you won't see me move unless I have to pee or go buy a beer. I mean, I get it. I like what the ballpark has to offer for other people, but I can't be too far off in saying, like, I come there to watch the games in my traditional Blue Jays gear. Yes, I'm a baseball boomer, but they need fans like me. I get that there's modern fans that are taking over, and I'll leave that for you guys. If you're one of those modern fans, good for you. Not for me.
All right, everyone's got their style. I'm going to pick up a jersey, I think. Not an actual jersey, but one of those T-shirt jerseys at the City Connect. Save some money that way and still rep the stuff is my plan to do with that jersey. All right. Well, the reason why I brought those up first is because, one, they debuted first in the series, but the Blue Jays put them on and they wore them on Friday night, and that game on Friday was absolutely bananas for the Toronto Blue Jays. A 14-inning game. I don't think we've seen the Blue Jays play a 14-inning game since the whole zombie runner came into play here. Ultimately, the Blue Jays got the result we wanted. Davis Schneider with a walk-off 2-run home run in the 14th inning to win it. Opposite field, by the way, and his first opposite field home run of his career, which I thought was fantastic. Very cool stuff from Davis Schneider. I have a lot of takeaways coming from this series, including, like, it is so stressful when you get that runner on second base to start an extra innings and you can't do the little things to drive him around. Absolutely drive me nuts. We had to rely on like a clutch hit from George Springer to tie the game late. And there was a few other instances too, where it's just like, man, we got there. But at the end, props to our bullpen, who did really job at the end of that 14-inning game. I think they went 7 innings of hitless baseball, did the bullpen coming out of that game, and it was very big props of why they won that game. So 1-0 in the City Connect jersey era, which is the most important stat.
That Friday night game was bananas, Jesse. 14 innings. We only had 6 hits in the ball game. One was the Davis Schneider home run. We only allowed 6 hits in that ball game as well. So take what you of away from that as you will. We actually had in the bottom of the 9th inning, Justin Turner lead off that inning with a double, and we couldn't cash him around. So so Jesse, we kind of had that extra innings rule in play to before extra innings even started, and we failed to produce. The 2 times we did were George Springer's single, and then Kevin Kiermaier hit a sacrifice fly to score Kevin Biggio. I want to come up and say an underrated play in these extra innings. It happened in the 13th inning with Ernie Clement playing third base. Now, I don't know what Jared Triolo was doing. A ground ball hit to Ernie Clement at third base. Ernie Clement did a great job to spear the ground ball. Triolo, who runs quite well, was tagged out sliding into third base. That's a good heads-up play by Ernie Clement to nab the base runner. Again, I can't say anything because the Blue Jays have been abysmal on the base pass all season, it seems like, except when Carlos Fabulous does his job as the third base coach. But a really good, underrated heads-up play by Ernie Clement. And then who else, Jesse? But Davis Schneider walks it off for us in the bottom of the 14th inning. 5-3 ball game. It was exciting, very stressful to say the least, though.
It's probably going to be one of the most memorable games of the Blue Jays. Like when we do at the end of our season recap and we look back on the season, I bet you that 14-inning game is going to stick out. And we have some notes on third base defense coming up a little bit more in this episode. But let's touch about it a little now, Riley, because in game 3 of this series, we had somebody playing third base that at least I did not think we would see play third base all year. And when the lineups came out on Sunday morning, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was scheduled in at third base. I have a lot of questions, Riley, and we'll dive into all of them here. But my first one, I just want initial reaction when you saw Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in the lineup playing third base for Sunday's game.
At first, when I see the names in the lineup when the Blue Jays posted on Twitter, I usually don't look at the positions of a guy like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., I'll usually
just assume he's there. Right?
I just assume he's DH or first. I look down in the lineup and see a guy like Clement or IKF and go, okay, where are they playing in the infield? And then upon further review, I see Turner and Vogelbach and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. So I go, okay, I know Vogelbach's not going to be in left field. So
right.
who's playing where? Oh, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. on third base, making a start at third base since his rookie season, Jesse. Now, I don't have the stats in front of me. This is something we both looked at, though. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in 2019 was by far the worst defensive third baseman in all of baseball. He moved over to third. We know he's won a Gold Glove. But I think this is kind of we're trying something new. We're just getting the bats in the lineup. We know that Daniel Vogelbach has hit well. He hit well in this series, so it's good that we had him in the lineup. Justin Turner, whole other case. But Vladimir Guerrero Jr., by far our best hitter right now, pure hitter, leads our team in hits and walks, and it's not even close. So he has to be in the lineup. Why not try him at third base? You know what? He was 2 for 2 on he got 2 infield assists, made a nice play, and then kind of playing closer to the shortstop side, made kind of a spin throw. Throwing arm looks good. Glove that was questionable coming in. He was 2 for 2 on fielding ground balls. I'm okay with it. This is not a long-term solution.
Right. In fact, going on to that, I think the plan for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at third base, coming from the quotes that John Schneider made after the game, it does seem like he will be there maybe once or twice every 2 weeks or so, every time that maybe Justin Turner needs a day off or whatnot, which is honestly more than I thought it would. I was going to ask you how he thought he looked, but it seems like you like it. You saw the spin throw. That was the one making the rounds. He didn't get a first attempt until the bottom of the 6th inning, too. So we had to wait quite a bit into that game until Vladimir Guerrero Jr. can get there. And look, he's been taking ground balls all the time. Vladdy himself said, I just want to help the team. And Vladdy, he is still a kid at heart. And I think he has fun when he's out there playing third base and doing that. And I think he really likes it. In terms of what this means for the team going forward, I think there's a lot more to it than just, hey, we want to get like Justin Turner and Vogelbach in the lineup. If Vladimir Guerrero Jr. can play more of a third base, because look, I think that means that the Justin Turner experiment at third base is done. Like, this is normally where you would have put JT, but I think the Blue Jays have decided, no, like, we can't even put a 39-year-old Justin Turner at third base, which I think is for the best. He was not good at third base this year. And I wonder if Vladimir Guerrero Jr. can play more time at third base if this opens up the first base spot on the roster. Vogelbach hasn't played in the field for a long time, but maybe for a guy like Spencer Horowitz to come up, who we can touch on him a little bit later in this episode, but he's mashing down in Buffalo, 26 years old. Like, he has nothing left to prove down there. Maybe this is a way they can get him on the roster and get him more at-bats. And if anything, this goes back to the comments that they made about the Blue Jays being more desperate to try to get stuff done. I think moving Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to third base, at least temporarily, is part of the desperation the Blue Jays have. And I think it shows that they're at least trying new things to spark this team.
With Spencer Horowitz on the rise in AAA, and who I think should be up with the Major League club, it makes your Turner being DFA'd look absolutely genius. Because Vogelbach's hitting the ball very well. I want to just add something, as I'm like the aesthetics guy, and I notice weird things on the diamond, Jesse. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., I don't know what glove make he had before. They were talking about him switching over to Rawlings. If you look at a third baseman like, say, Arenado, who's won a ton of Gold Gloves, he'll have the gold Rawlings on his glove. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. had the same thing on third base when he played. He had his third baseman's glove on. I think that it's hilarious. He's won a Gold Glove, yes, but that Gold Glove is on the first base position. The difference between first and third winning a Gold Glove is a tremendous difference. I just thought it was funny. Yes, he has the right to wear that kind of gold patch on his glove, but he's playing third base, not first base. So, I mean, it's cool. It's flashy. But don't be confused if you just watched a game for the first time ever. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has not won a Gold Glove playing third base.
Yes.
Just to make that very, very clear.
Thank you, Riley. Glad you did that here. I have one more thought before we move on to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. things. Do you take any smoke into the Blue Jays are just putting him at third base to showcase him for other teams in case they decide to move him, that, look, he can be a third baseman? Or is that just bull crap?
I think that's a load of crap, Jesse. I
think it is too. Good.
I think we're just trying to maximize the bats in our batting order. I think this this that happened yesterday on Sunday. I think we will see this again this year. I think we'll see this at least one more time, if not 2 or 3 more times, with the lineup, especially with Horowitz possibly coming. We could see Vladimir Guerrero Jr. start.
Yeah, I think we're going to see it here, few and far between. If anything, it might help the Blue Jays just get that little burst of energy. I do find it wild, though, that the Blue Jays all offseason we're talking about, run prevention, defense, and pitching is how we're going to win our games. And then at June 30th, about 2 months into, or June 3rd, 2 months into the season, they just say, you know what? We don't need corner infield defense. Let's just throw our all bats lineup out there and see what happens. But hey, when you're struggling to hit the ball like the Blue Jays are, sometimes you got to get desperate and do these things. Exactly. I want to talk about one more major storyline to come out of the series before we dive deep into all individual sections of this team. And that's a couple injury notes for the Toronto Blue Jays, as we sent 2 pretty prominent pitchers to the IL in this series. The first one, right-handed pitcher Alek Manoah. We talked about it at the end of our last episode, how we figured an IL trip was coming. And he did just that here, as Riley will try to reconnect here a little bit. But yeah, Jordan Romano to the, or Alek Manoah to the IL. He said he felt like a pinching sensation in his arm, which is not good for Alek Manoah. When you hear pitchers talk about their elbow issues, usually when you hear that pop, it means you're over. And so the fact that Alek Manoah didn't hear a pop in his elbow is probably a good thing, but that pinch can't be good. And the way how quick John Schneider was to pull him made me feel like he knew about Alek Manoah's elbow before this was happening. I think Alek Manoah is going to be on the injured list for quite a while here, and there's a chance we don't see him again this season, which means the Blue Jays got to get flexible with their fifth spot in the rotation. Riley, do you have a takeaway on Alek Manoah's injury here?
It's very unfortunate, especially with the other injuries that are falling around the Blue Jays starting pitchers. That could be as some of the guys that are in AAA to fringe to guys who are going to be in the rotation. We have some guys almost ready to come back. I think Yariel Rodriguez should be back shortly. Whether that's going to fill the exact same hole. Listen, Manoah has been okay, not great. But at this point, it's about finding innings on this team. With Manoah going to the IL and expected to miss significant time, we need to find these innings somehow. And I am so open to outsourcing this. We had this Burr guy from the Phillies. We traded him for cash or whatever. We need more of that. But essentially, maybe even a fifth starter type of guy, a guy who's a long reliever on the fringe of starters. Because listen, I'm not opposed to using Trevor Richards as a starter, but that is a very short-term solution. We essentially need to find another starting pitcher to finish this year out. I don't know where we're going to find him, but we need to get creative in our trade ideas, because where we sit in the standings, if we determine that we are indeed trying to make a push and not selling off assets, finding a starting pitcher right now, Jeff.
Yeah, I think the plan going forward is kind of going to be what it was before Alek Manoah came here, where they're kind of going to piggyback Bowden Francis and Yariel Rodriguez together and try to patchwork a fifth starter out of that. I want to see personally just Bowden Francis just get a run. Like, he was so great in spring training. He only made 2 starts this season before the Blue Jays pulled the plug. It's like, give Bowden Francis some time. I do think there's still a really good pitcher in there. But you're right. After those two, it's Paulo Espino, who has an ERA over 6. And then next on the depth chart is probably stretching out Trevor Richards. And I think he's been too good in the bullpen to move him out of that role. And I think you're right. The Blue Jays need to be active on the waiver wire. Like, we did sign Ryan Burr, who I'm going to ask you about him a little bit later in this episode. But I really think the Blue Jays are in trouble, especially if Chris Bassett's neck issue springs up again. Kevin Gausman's shoulder, he dealt with that in the spring training. Like, you never know what's going to happen. And if we lose one more starting pitcher to injury, we could be in trouble here. But I want to talk about another serious injury on the Blue Jays, and that's our closer, Jordan Romano. Like, he didn't pitch at all in that 12 inning or that 14 inning game, which I thought was weird. That's usually the time you want to use your best reliever. And that was coming off an off day the day before as well. So I thought it was even more weird how Jordan Romano did not appear into that game. It was later found out he's dealing with an injury as well, and he has gone to the IL. Jimmy Garcia did get a save in this series as his replacement, but Jordan Romano has not been good this year. Like, not to hide it, but he's still one of the Blue Jays relievers with one of the highest upsides in that pen. And this does thin out the bullpen a little bit going forward. Riley, do you have a take on the Romano injury or how long we might be without him?
So I mean, it doesn't matter if he was average bad.
And right, we'll wait for his internet connection to come back a little bit here, but we are. I don't know what to do with Romano gone. You probably slide Jimmy Garcia into that closer role, and just I have full confidence he can get the job done and he can shut it down. But from there, it really does thin it out.
Absolutely. Garcia is the guy in Romano's absence that can do this. I mean, it doesn't matter how Romano was doing at this point. We're still missing a very key back end guy. Nate Pearson, I think, can slot in higher leverage spots based off what I saw. Garcia, of course, as well. But with a guy like Eric Swanson also dealing with struggles, and now essentially Jordan Romano missing some time, I mean, those are two in my head to start the year. That was kind of our setup and closer. Things change as the year progresses, and we're looking at a different layout of how this bullpen looks, especially late into ball games.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will see. We will keep tabs on that. I wonder if the Blue Jays give some of their like Buffalo guys a chance here to come up, like a Yasser Zulueta or a Connor Cook or something like that to come up here and see. But it's going to have to be all systems aboard, and everyone's going to have to step up in order to make the bullpen as effective. All right, Riley, we've got about 10 minutes to go in our episode. We have a lot more to get to, including a game I have called Do These Stats Matter? But I just want to touch on 2 more offensive performances. I really liked this series. Did you know at one point Daniel Vogelbach was 9 for his last 18 with 4 extra base hits? That seems pretty good to me. And then Davis Schneider, we talked about him hitting the big home run, as well as after getting drilled with 97 in the ribs the pitch prior to, the at-bat prior, so that was very good. And Danny Jansen had another good series. Vlad had another good series. Quick thought on any of those offensive performances?
I mean, Danny Jansen is having a tremendous year, unqualified across Major League Baseball, but now at a 908 OPS. And Vladimir Guerrero Jr. also, he continues to hit the ball. Yes, they're not for home runs, but the on base, I believe, is 388. The on base percentage, the slug is not too much more north of that. However, he is still getting the job done. Not in the extra base hits department, which I know is driving us insane, but we have to take one of these positives away. Danny Jansen hitting in that 2.
Yeah, he's looked good. He's hitting the ball hard. He's driving the ball. He's hitting for power. He didn't have his best series here, but he still did a good job and got it going together there. And then on the cold side, some hitters who are not doing so well. I was saying to you before the show, I looked at Justin Turner's game log before the episode here, and pro tip, don't do that. It's bad. It's not looking good. I also want to talk Kevin Biggio. He was frustrating, man, to watch there. Like, he's going to the plate, and his main goal is just to try to draw a walk. And pitchers aren't dumb. They're throwing it down the plate, and he is getting caught looking every time. And with his swing speed metrics and stuff, what it is, even if he gets a pitch to hit and he does decide to swing at it, he's not going to do the damage on the pitch he wants. Like, I'm done, I think, with Kevin Biggio, which I might be late. There have been Blue Jays fans out there who wanted him gone probably like last year, right? And I was buying on to the good second half, but I think there's better use of his roster spot here. And then Bo Bichette as well, Riley, did not get a hit in this series. 0 for 12, 6 strikeouts. The only time he reached base was an intentional walk in game 1 in the 13th inning here. In fact, for the cleanup spot for the Blue Jays now, only have 20 RBIs. The 8th spot in the order has produced more RBIs than the Blue Jays cleanup spot has this year, which I thought was wild. Those 3 hitters, Riley, Justin Turner, Bo Bichette, and oh God, I just forgot. Kevin Biggio. I know you probably have a take on one, if not all of them. If you're not frozen, do you want to come in and let them know here? Okay, yeah. Still frozen is Riley McConnell. We're dealing with county internet in there and something we're trying to get here. But, Bo Bichette, look, he got a vote of confidence from the general manager. He still thinks he's going to be out here. He's still going to play well, and he's going to be every day. I don't think it will surprise anybody if Bo Bichette just turns it on. But, man, does he ever look lost at the plate right now and really does seem to be struggling. We want to see the better things there. Go ahead, Riley, on those 3 struggling hitters.
I mean, Kevin Biggio has had just an abysmal year.
I don't have his season stat line here, but it is not ideal. I will tell you that. It's I can't remember the last time he hit a home run. I feel like it's been way too long. But yeah, so the Blue Jays could, if they were desperate, and it kind of shows like they have been doing desperate, and maybe doing something with that spot is probably the best way the Toronto Blue Jays could go about maximizing their spot on the roster. Riley, I want to talk a little defense here, and the Blue Jays, it's supposed to be their calling card of their team. First one is Dalton Varsho made another great catch in center field. He does this, once every other series, it seems like, where he just wows you. And the defensive standout that really stood out to me was Vladimir Guerrero Jr., or not Vladimir Guerrero Jr., George Springer in right field made a couple of diving catches. He even got the rave of the Pirates manager saying, like, we can't hit a ball over George Springer's head. I don't know what we're doing. But some notable stuff on the defensive side of the ball for the Toronto Blue Jays that impressed me this series.
Yeah, and to get back to just Biggio real quick, 14 walks to a really high 42 strikeouts, Jesse.
Yeah, that's not his game.
For him. That's just that we cannot have that unacceptable. Varsho also made a great catch. I'm not sure which game it is. Perhaps game 2. Made a catch in center field and kind of slid like a Koopa Troopa off the wall in center field. It was quite cool. Our outfield, it's funny. Our outfield defense is good as it is. And then you tweeted. And then game 3, it's just like, but our infield defense with Turner and Vladdy on the corners is just going to be whatever. So a little fun thing there. Ended up working out, Jesse. But our defense is very, very good.
Right, and
it has been.
And before we even talk to the pitchers, Riley, I want to play a fun game called Do These Stats Matter? And we don't have to spend much time on them, but I just want your initial reaction and whether it's just bullshit, it's random noise, or if there actually is something to this. You ready?
Yep.
All right, first one. The Toronto Blue Jays have gone 24 straight games now without scoring a run in the first inning. It is now a franchise record. Does that stat matter?
Yeah, of course it kind of does matter in the longevity of a game, the longevity of a season, because those are your 1, 2, and 3 hitters starting off that ball game, and they can't get the job done to start the ball game. Even with Davis Schneider and Jansen taking over those roles as 1 and 2, we still need to be able to produce very early into the ball games because our pitchers are constantly pitching from behind. Kikuchi has not won in 7 starts. I believe is what it is at this point, and he's getting no run support. We need to be able to score early in these ball games.
Yeah, that's been the storyline of our season. And I think the wild thing is the Blue Jays lead baseball in runs scored in the second inning, which is just bananas.
We're just asleep in the first inning. We wake up in the second.
All right, my next one. Does this stat matter? The Blue Jays are 18-9 when Isaiah Kiner-Falefa starts at third base. We're 6-17 when Ernie Clement does. And we're 4-4 now when one of Turner, Biggio, Barger, or Vlad does. Does that start matter?
I mean, I think Isaiah Kiner-Falefa has to be our third baseman moving forward, at least for now. Clement is a suitable replacement guy. There are better options, however. I think we need IKF's defense. It has looked tremendous at third base this year.
All right, I think I'm with you on that. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, he is an everyday player. Like, I can't believe I'm saying this about him, but he needs to be there, and he's been doing what we need him to do, and, good on him. Props for him. I'm with you on that. Another one, George Springer, Riley, a perfect 7 for 7 in stolen bases. I bring that up just because we haven't really talked base running yet this episode, and I figured this was our time now. Does this matter for George Springer?
I think it does matter because it goes with, for me, the catches he's made. He's still showing, for some reason, as much as his other parts of his game, his bat speed might be digressing. His at least his base running ability, his ability to kind of see how the pitcher is throwing, timing up his steals is great, and as well as his defense, he's still showing very youthy traits to his game. So 7 for 7 for Springer shows that he's still got the foot speed to some extent, but more importantly, he's able to read pitchers when they're in the stretch and is capitalizing on his stolen bases.
Yeah, he went from 61st percentile in sprint speed last season, Riley, to 71st this year. He's gotten faster this year on the wrong side of 30. So, hey, if anything, that means George Springer's healthy, and that was the whole idea of the move to right field. Just get that bat going, my guy. And then the last one for do these stats matter? It comes on the fact that Dalton Varsho got caught stealing in this series. It was the Blue Jays' 4th time this season they had a runner as a caught stealing. It's the best in baseball, Riley. Does that stat matter? He's thinking. He's doing a pondering on it. We looked it up before the show. The Blue Jays' 4 caught stealing numbers. It's actually the lowest in baseball. So does that stat matter?
Of course it matters. And should we be more aggressive on the base pass? Possibly. I mean, we just talked about a 7 for 7 George Springer.
Yeah, I think, in fact, the only 4 Blue Jays who have been caught stealing, it was Dalton Varsho in this series. Bo Bichette got caught stealing once. And the other 2 caught stealings were Justin Turner, who why Justin Turner is ever trying to steal a base is beyond me. But it seems pretty wild there. Go ahead.
Yeah, it shows IKF could be getting more steals. Ernie Clement, if he gets on base, a very good runner as well. I mean, hey, we're not losing out. And Justin Turner being 2 of those caught for stealings, that pretty much doesn't count. Also, Varsho, his caught stealing came on a late jump in a game against the Pirates this weekend. So take that as you will. We are running the bases as base stealers very well. When the ball is in play, when there is an actual play, we could be a lot better. But for the base running, we should put more pressure on the opposing defense because it seems as though we're better than we think at stealing bases.
I agree. Now let's turn our side to the rubber and to the pitching side. We don't have to spend too much time on this. I'm just going to read the 3 pitchers and their stat lines in this series. Jose Barrios, who got game 1, 7 innings pitched, 6 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, 5 strikeouts. I've actually thought he pitched well. The slider and the sweeper looked really good. Fastball velocity was down, but it picked back up. Just another ho-hum. Great start for Jose Barrios. Yusei Kikuchi got lit up in this one, though. 5 1/3 innings pitched, 9 hits, 5 earned runs, 1 unearned as well. 1 walk, 5 Ks. Struggled early, gave up a lot of hits. Then he did settle in, though. He did settle in for a bit before he gave up more runs in the 5th. But that's now 2 starts in a row for Yusei Kikuchi where he really hasn't had his good stuff. We kind of need a big bounce back from him. And then Chris Bassett, who's coming back after having neck stiffness in that White Sox game, came back and started the finale against Pittsburgh. 5 innings pitched, 8 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, got up to 100 pitches in this one, gave up a lot of hits, had a lot of traffic on the bases, and a lot of his pitches had to be high-stress pitches. And the location, especially with his off-speed stuff, wasn't the best, but he was able to get 7 strikeouts, pitch out of danger, and 2 stats, I suppose, here. He got over to, 1,000 innings pitched in his career. So good stuff for Chris. Yep. Yeah, for Chris Bassett. Love that. And he also hit 3 batters. He becomes the 10th pitcher in Blue Jays franchise history to hit 3 separate batters in a game. So I thought that was wild. Those 3 pitchers, Barrios, Kikuchi, and Bassett. Riley, did you have a take on any of them?
I'll work backwards. I think that Bassett did a great job of kind of limiting the damage for the amount of base runners. Now I'll skip over to basically season numbers for Jose Barrios. He has an earned run average of 278 at this point in the season and a whip just north of 108. One number I do like for Barrios is 58 strikeouts to 18 walks.
That'll work every time. And the ground balls are way up for Jose Barrios too, which is honestly, I'm surprised they haven't been higher throughout his career. But if he's limiting walks, getting a ton of ground balls, I don't think it's anyone's surprise that he has a 2.78 ERA on the season. I want to touch a little on Kikuchi here too, just because Kikuchi pitching well is probably one of the biggest storylines for the Blue Jays right now. Because 1, if he's pitching well, then the Blue Jays are going to win more games. Obviously, great thing. Love that. And then 2, if we are going to try to trade Yusei Kikuchi, get off his contract at the end of the season, then him pitching well is going to be paramount because we can get more from a Yusei Kikuchi who, say, has a low 3 ERA than it does if he has a high 4 ERA or anything like that. So I want to see Kikuchi bounce back a little bit here, especially with the command a little bit going forward. While you're still off in Frozen Land, Riley, we'll touch on and we'll move on to the bullpen here. Some interesting things. I mentioned earlier in the episode that game 1, the bullpen went 7 innings of hitless baseball, which was very good to see there. That was always very promising. And then some notable performances. Genesis Cabrera, who needed a big bounce back start. He went in, he got some results. He faced 5 batters, struck out 3 of them. He was able to keep the zombie runner off base as well, which was very important for him. We needed to see that. Chad Green in game 3 worked in and out of danger. He was able to escape a jam, but he did pitch a clean 1-2-3 in game 1s. And then just some other ones. Jimmy Garcia worked the save with Romano. Nate Pearson, 6 up, 6 down in game 1 in the series, and also came in to protect a lead late in game 2. I think Nate Pearson might be moving up the depth chart here with the Jordan Romano injury. And what's the last one I have? Brandon Latella's here. Garbage. And he got lit up a little bit here. Quick thought, Riley, if you want to finish up your thought on the rotation and then touch on the bullpen here.
Yeah, I'll say this. I think the idea to have Pearson pitch in more high leverage is looking better and better as the days go on and with every start he adds. I want to just mention, as bad as the Pirates were kind of barreling up Kikuchi on the season, 65 strikeouts to 14 walks for Yusei. those numbers are absolutely tremendous.
Like the Blue Jays pitching strength of their team always has been, always will be, and it's really good. I'm going to be really sad if we do trade Yusei Kikuchi. He's one of my guys, and I hope that doesn't happen. All right, last thing to get to, down on the farm, we had a few things. I figured this is a good time, while we're talking bullpen and while we're talking things down on the farm system, thought this was a good time to check in on Erik Swanson to see how he's been doing down there. And he's gotten to 4 games, 3 1/3 innings pitched, but 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. Erik Swanson's got an ERA of 5.4 down there. No home runs allowed, though, which is good. But, and it's only, 10 outs he's gotten. So you want to see more, but I think how Erik Swanson looks in Buffalo is going to be very important. And then also I wanted to touch on, we got to touch on Peyton Henry, Riley. And I don't know if you saw this, but the Buffalo Bison's game got canceled on Friday night because of Peyton Henry. He got hit in the back with a backswing, fell to the ground immediately. His arms started shaking. It was actually a really scary scene in Buffalo. His arms began to shake. He left on a stretcher with medics. He did later tweet out that he was responsive and he was good. He personally said he wanted to thank everyone for their prayers and concerns. He's doing pretty good and hopes to recover as quick as possible. It's the last thing you want to see from a player on a field. Anytime you have to see a stretcher come out onto the field, especially for a catcher who gets hit, who takes a lot of wear and tear almost every day. Prayers up for Peyton Henry. We want to see you get a little better here and see if you can continue to get better here, as we really need Peyton Henry to step up. And I hope just him and his family are all doing okay in that episode. Riley has been dealing with internet connections. Maybe this is why we don't do episodes in the morning and we usually hold them till late at night. We promise it'll get better. Once Elon's Starlink internet can get better there, we will be better on our end here as well. But that's going to do it for our episode here today. We want to personally thank everybody for tuning in. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Once again, shout out to the guys at the Walk Off Podcast and Blue Jays today for having us on their show. It was very good. For Riley McConnell, I'm Jesse Burrell. We will be back on Thursday to recap the Baltimore Orioles series, which is kind of a very important series early in the season. I think the Jays split and go 2-2. But if we somehow are able to get a series win and win 3 out of these 4 games at home against the Baltimore Orioles, it'll go a long way. Just don't pitch to Ryan Mountcastle, please, as he owns the Toronto Blue Jays. But it'll be a good series, and it all starts tonight, 7:07, with the Blue Jays wearing their City Connect stuff there as well. We'll let Riley get in here for the last word before we head out of here. Riley, one more thing to say before we shut her down for the day.
Last thing to say, it's a cloudy day. I didn't set my internet up properly like I keep bitching about, and it sucks. I hate it. Jesse, whatever you said, it's always pure genius. I'm sure I could guess what you were talking about. Shout out to the Walk Off Podcast. Yep. Shout out to Blue Jays Today. Thank you very much for hosting the event on Thursday night. We will be back. Hopefully by that point, Jesse, we are above 500 team. But we need to play some pretty good damn baseball. And we should start outsourcing for another pitcher. That's all I'll say, because we really need another quality arm with guys getting shot. Our pitchers anyways.
We will be back on Thursday after the Baltimore series to recap that game. For Riley McConnell, I am Jesse Burrell. We will see you next week.